is that alone and lonely are different. So lonely has that longing. Lonely feels like I'm missing something. Something should be here. Like I should have a partner, or I should have support, or I should have whatever. Aloneness is accepting that this is just me here. I am this soul in this body, and this is what I'm dealing with. So aloneness, we can describe it in that way of accepting that only I can deal with my inner world. Only I can deal with my life experience of things. Definitely there's lots of support. That's all there. But that healing piece of how I feel my emotions or how I express that, only I can do that. So only I can give myself that space of aloneness where that can happen. Does that make sense? So how this relates to love. When we're able to give ourselves that space of aloneness, it's one of the most loving things that we can do. Because you know how we'll think about somebody that we want to meet. And we'll think about, well, you know, I need them to accept me as I am. And I want them to accept me as I am. And I want the freedom to be myself. And the space to be myself. All of those things. It's lovely, yeah? We're talking really conscious relationships here. Where you're you and I'm me and we don't try to change each other. In that space of aloneness, that's what we're doing for ourselves. We're saying to our inner world, I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm not asking you to be anything other than what you are. I'm accepting that there's hurt there. I'm accepting that there's disappointment. I'm accepting that there's frustration. I'm accepting that there's greatness. I'm accepting that there's sense of humor. We begin accepting all of the different things that are there. And the aloneness is willing to give whatever that needs. So if we think of that great relationship with the other, it's a relationship of really giving. I freely give to you, and you freely give to me, and I freely receive from you, and you freely receive from me. It's a beautiful thing. Everything is allowed flow in that. So that part of to really be able to love and be loved, we need to be comfortable being alone. That's what it's describing. It's the level of comfort and awareness that I have with myself when it's just me with me. And I have a greater sense of what I need or what works for me because I've taken the time to get to know that. It's a little bit deeper than our favorite foods or favorite time to go to bed or whatever. It's taking it to a deeper level of getting to know who we are. What do I need when I'm upset? What do I need when I'm not well? What do I need when I'm happy? What do I need in my interactions with people? What fulfills me? What do I enjoy? It needs that time of aloneness that we get to know those things. Otherwise, it's like a bit of a lottery when we get into a relationship with somebody. We're sort of hoping that they're the right combination to fit the combination of us that we actually don't know. I mean, that chances of that working. Whereas if I have a pretty good sense of me, and I've taken the time to get to know me, then the technique of getting to know you is not huge. It's not going to be hugely different. How I took the time to get to know me is how I can take the time to get to know you. And in that, I let myself accept whatever I find. How often do we meet somebody, like in dating, and we're like, oh, they'd only be great if they were just this little bit different. Yeah, we do it all the time. Comfort in our aloneness means that we're a little bit more willing to accept them as they are. And that means recognizing that, okay, if this person is not the right fit for me, I'm happy to leave it. I'm not going to force it to fit just because I don't want to be lonely. Because I'm very fine being alone. Then love becomes not completely risk-free. It will always feel a little bit risky, but that's just the energy of it. But we'll have a greater sense of, well, you know what, if it doesn't work, I can handle that. Whereas when we're lonely and we meet somebody, we will cling on for dear life because we don't want to go back to that lonely place. It's very painful. So we can sometimes sell out. We can make compromises that are too big because we don't want to be lonely. So how we grow that space of our aloneness can actually allow that even when we meet somebody, even when we meet a partner, we keep that space of me when I meet the other person. When I don't have enough established of that space of me, that aloneness with myself, we may not know where the boundaries are. When we go to connect with another person, we can start to blur. We can start to make compromises that actually aren't right for us. There's natural compromises that we'll make. And that's just part of relating. But not knowing the boundaries of me might mean I could compromise my deepest values. Or my core beliefs might get compromised. And at a certain point in the future, I might realize that when it's at a time when it will cause me pain to realize. So aloneness, in the way that we're talking about it, is a way that we create space. It's a way that our inner world gets to little bit by little bit relax and open up. And in the opening up, we get to find out what's there. In finding out what's there, we get to explore what that needs. We get to try different things and find out, oh, does this meet that need? Does this heal that? Does this help that? We start to create a freedom in that space that allows ourselves to change and adjust as we're finding out what we need. Without that space, we can feel guilty for doing what we need, especially if we have a sense that, oh, the other person is not going to agree to it, or it's going to cause an argument, or it's going to cause conflict. And yet it might be what we need. We might just need a weekend away with family and not our partner. We might just need that space. Or our best friend or whoever. Yeah? So creating that space of aloneness is a huge part of that healthy relationship with ourselves. The more I know of my inner needs or my inner world and how that works, the easier it is for me to recognize when something doesn't feel right for me. Let's say something might have crossed a boundary. When I have that space from being alone in my inner world, I can recognize that pretty quickly. We'll have that ability. And even if it's not totally clear, even if we have a sense of, oh, there's just something not right with that, I don't know what it is, we've already created that space that we can find out. We can sit with it and go, what's going on for me here? Why did that bother me so much? Why did I lose the head so quickly with them? Or whatever. Why am I feeling insecure? Why am I feeling jealous when they're talking to this person? All of these things that happen. When we create that space, that aloneness space, that can be our space where we resolve huge parts of our inner world. And that's also the space, that's the capacity for love. It's that capacity for loving myself and loving somebody else. So it's a really loving thing. When somebody checks with you, do you need anything? Can I get you something? It feels really nice, doesn't it? It's like, oh, that's so thoughtful. Like I love when somebody here surprises me by making a cup of tea in the way that I like it. It's the most lovely thing. I haven't even asked for a cup of tea. Yeah, but it's gorgeous, yeah. I really enjoy that. It's always nicer than tea that I make myself. for that reason, because it has thoughtfulness in it. So can you imagine what it might feel like in you if you were giving to yourself in that way all the time? If you were being thoughtful in your aloneness with yourself, of what exactly do I need? And it might be as simple as a cup of tea. I need just chill out time, I need to just put the phone on silent and watch stupid TV and have tea and biscuits. And more times what we need is a little bit more elaborate. Imagine having enough space inside that we could be thoughtful of ourselves. Because whatever we create for ourselves like that becomes available to the other when we meet them. How I am thoughtful of myself, how I can recognize what I need, helps me to recognize when there's something that they need that I can give them. Helps me how I can be thoughtful with them. And then we're into that flow of love again. That flow of love of really sharing with each other. Really seeing the other person. Because we've taken the time to see ourselves.